just fun to share this with you. So one of the things that's been very interesting for us is that we have been continuing to share with everyone here some series about your soul and learning to see yourself as a soul. In part one, we established the notion that each one of us is an eternal soul. As we're here right now, the part of us that is really that eternal part is that inner self, that inner presence. In part two, we talked about the notions of establishing our identity to the sense that we don't allow the limitations of other people to take over for ourselves. We don't allow the limitations of a family, a religion, or society to diminish that inner soul within us. And then in part three, we came to understand that it is the soul, not the body, that has a lifetime guarantee. Pretty important. So today, in part four, we will focus pretty much on the soul as the fountain of youth. The soul as the fountain of youth. And I just want to say, this is my favorite talk maybe that I've ever given. I hope it might be yours. I don't know if it will or not, but this is probably my favorite talk. So let's begin. It is often said that sometimes the most obvious thing is the easiest thing to miss. The most obvious thing is an easy one to miss. Thus, for a fish, it's very easy to miss the fact that it exists in water, which is the basis of its life. So every once in a while you kind of ask yourself, is there such a thing for human beings? Is there something that is so clear and so basic that we keep on missing it? I think there is, so let me explain. It is not that human beings have not looked for that one thing that is the most who they are. The search has had many names. At times, it was the search for that fountain of youth, that Ponce de Leon guy down in Florida trying to find that place for the fountain of youth. At other times, it was called the search for the Holy Grail. That's something, the possession of which would be for you the secret of life itself. Even in earlier times, it was called the elixir. People looked for the elixir of life, that something that if taken would promote immortality. Even in contemporary times, we have in a sense people looking for the same things, especially medically, for medical cures and longevity to the body, trying to find that one something that would substantiate our existence. Hints to that one something were given by two best-selling authors, one Stephen Covey, the other Deepak Chopra. In his wonderful book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey said, well, essentially what he said was, there are 7 habits of highly effective people. And the first habit of highly effective people, perhaps you recall, is the fact that you are self-aware. And as a self-aware being, what he simply said is that, well, you create the reality of your life by the freedom you have and the choices that you make based on that freedom. In a sense, each one of us is creating it all. We all are self-aware. Sitting here right now, you're self-aware. You're quite free. And because you're free, you make choices. And these choices then create the reality of our lives. But then Covey went on to address a book concerning really more business than anything else when he talked about those 7 habits. But it was Deepak Chopra who really wrote a rather interesting book that kind of raised the level just a little bit. In his book that was called The 7 Laws of Spiritual Success, maybe some of you recall that particular book, wonderful book, he said that the very first law of spiritual success is that each one of us is an infinite field of potential energy. Just say it again. Each one of us right here, that we are an infinite field of potential energy. It's not just that we are self-aware, but each one of us is this infinite field of potential energy. Now, let's try to be clear. What is that self-awareness of Stephen Covey that hints at the notion of immortality? Or what is that infinite field of potential of Deepak Chopra that is the fountain of youth? Is there such a thing? I would just suggest to you there is. The answer is, I just want to warn you, it's very obvious, very simple to miss. The answer is, it is consciousness. It is consciousness that is the fountain of youth. It is your consciousness that is the Holy Grail. It is the consciousness within you in which you sit, just as a fish sits in water. Easy to miss the obvious. Easy to miss the obvious. So what I'd like to explain to you is to examine three particular factors of consciousness that make so much sense for us and gives direction to our lives and promises us what I would suggest is the fountain of youth, that immortal something that all of us in a sense seem to chase in life. First, let me just suggest the following. Consciousness, sitting here right now, is a function of the freedom of our souls. I'll say it again. Consciousness is the function of the freedom of our souls. As you are sitting here, right now, are you not an aware consciousness? Yeah. Are you not an aware being? I think we can say that we are. And as you're sitting here right now, would you not say that you are free? You are free to create the reality of your life. And in fact, you do so by the choices that you make. And would you not say that these choices create the reality of your life, and in fact, they are the direction of our future? That each one of us is a free creating energy. Each one of us is an aware consciousness. Consciousness is the water in which we swim. Consciousness, awareness, is the water in which we swim. So easy to miss that. So easy just to let it go without realizing consciousness is the water in which we swim. Secondly, as you examine your conscious decisions, you can easily come to the conclusion. That your consciousness does not so much deal with simply your body, and your consciousness does not so much simply deal with the things that are outside of you that change. But as you're sitting here right now, right here, that your consciousness really deals with your emotions, your thoughts, and your soul feelings. That your consciousness, what really constitutes you, is made up of your emotions, your thoughts, and your soul understanding. In other words, what I want to suggest to you, your real self, what you feel, what you think, what you know to be true, is housed in your consciousness. Your real self, not your body, not the stuff out there, but your real self is housed in your consciousness, in your emotions, in your thoughts, and in your soul feelings. What I would want to suggest more than anything else is that consciousness is the home of the inner you. Consciousness is the home of the inner you, your emotions, your thoughts, your feelings. And consciousness is the only thing you'll take with you when you leave here on the planet. The good news is you'll take with you everything that is most valuable. namely your emotions, your thoughts, and your souls. Just like everyone else will take with them their emotions, their thoughts, and their souls, the best part of them as well. It augurs well for the future. The third thing I would suggest to you that becomes extremely interesting is the notion that each one of us has not only this eternal soulness, but that this eternal soulness, I think the best way that I can present it to you is this eternal soulness that we experience now and which we will experience into the future is the continuity of consciousness. So I'm just going to encourage you to think about that we have a continuity of consciousness as an eternal soul. So let me try to explain it. Whenever Jesus and the Buddha or anyone else, whenever they passed away, any of the great teachers, what was very interesting is that their spirit seemed to continue down through the ages. That's probably why when Jesus and Buddha had a continuity of consciousness, it was their continuity of consciousness that continued to influence the people down through the ages. And whether or not you believe Jesus channeled the Course in Miracles or anything else, it is the continuity of consciousness that really has had an impact on people throughout the years. So what I would want to suggest to you probably more than anything else is that Jesus and the Buddha understood that there was a continuity of consciousness that is the basis for the eternality of your souls. So just for a moment. Barbara Marx Hubbard and Roy Eugene Davis both passed away recently. Two wonderful, wonderful people. I think what they both understood was, well, they left the earth, but it's the continuity in consciousness that is really the most important thing. As you're sitting here right now, you can feel their presence. There's a continuity in consciousness that continues to come into each one of us from Barbara Marx Hubbard and from Roy Eugene Davis. It is this continuity of consciousness that is the absolutely most important thing of all. So, let's just say a family member of yours has passed, or perhaps will pass into the future. And you think about that, well, what defines them? Did the body define them? Probably not. Does your external possessions define you? Probably not. What does define an individual is the continuity in consciousness that you have of them and they have of you. And someday, when you yourself might pass, it's very important for us to realize that this continuity of consciousness is really the most important thing we always take with us, no matter where we might be. It is the continuity of consciousness, I can only suggest to you, is the fountain of youth. It's the continuity of consciousness, that eternal energy of your soul, that is the most important thing we have. As you're sitting here, I just want to encourage you, don't get lost in what you aren't. Just don't get lost in what you aren't. Play with it if you want. Play with your body, play with the externals. Just don't get lost. Because the essential thing is not the body and not your simple external things, but it's the continuity of consciousness that consists of your emotions, your thoughts, and your inner soul that is the most important thing of all. What I'd like to suggest more than anything else is that what we are doing here, what we are doing here is gathering the experiences of life. And as we gather these experiences of life, these will be the memories we have, not just to carry on into the future, but also the direction that each one of our personal souls will undertake. One last quality of consciousness. Consciousness is interactive. That's why it's fun to be with you. Consciousness is interactive.
Can you say it a little louder?
Yeah, consciousness is interactive.
Oh.
The very nature of it is to extend. The very nature of it is to join, is to bind together. It's the most wonderful feeling in the world. As you're sitting here right now, not only thinking about those perhaps who have passed, who have left here, but those of us with whom we are right now, consciousness is interactive. It's a joy. I mean, it's a joy to see everyone here. It's just a joy. Joy to see my old buddy Jimmy. Just a joy. Yeah, just a joy. Consciousness is interactive. And as interactive, it just continues to expand and grow and develop. We always like to say this more than anything else. We're pretty happy. We're happy campers. But the neat thing is, it's not just that you're a happy camper, but the happiness within you is expanding. And I want to give you my encouragement. Focus on this. Allow your continuity of consciousness to be the future joy and happiness of your life. So Patty and Tony, when you're on the other coast, your joy, your light will be there without a doubt. And we'll probably connect in the continuity of consciousness. So in conclusion, let me just suggest, first of all, there's probably going to be a couple more teachings on the soul. A couple more are just coming along the way. But it's such an important thing for us to understand that this continuity of consciousness, this richness of consciousness, it's the water in which we swim. Please do not be a fish out of your water. Please don't be a fish out of your water. Let's bring that to meditation and see where we go. Let me now welcome you to our meditation and just encourage you, just posture-wise. The easiest way to do it is to kind of sit up straight, so you're going to be pretty relaxed. Probably easier with feet on the floor, might be helpful to you, but whatever's comfortable, nothing to be pushed. And our intention today is to focus in on the continuity of consciousness, the continuity of consciousness. Our focus today is the continuity of consciousness. Set this simply as the intention of your meditation. As we begin our meditation today, let me just simply ask that you focus on your breathing, just your natural breathing rhythm. Nothing forced, just breathing in and breathing out, your natural breath. I'll come back to guide you in just a moment, but just begin by focusing on your natural breathing. Please begin. In order to help you with your meditation, when you inhale, just say to yourself the word in. When you exhale, the word out. Breathe in, exhale out. Just say the words to yourself. They'll help you to focus. If a thought comes into your mind, just let the thought pass and just refer back to your breath. Breathing in, breathing out, your natural breathing rhythm. Please continue. Now what I ask you to do, if you just take your hand and put it over your heart, and when you inhale, just feel the breath coming into you. When you exhale, just feel the breath going out of you. Just feel the in and feel the out. Nothing forced, but focused. Please begin. You may place your hand back on your lap, and as you do so, I'll just ask you to notice one thing. Would you notice how calm you feel? Just notice how peaceful you feel. Very alert, but calm. Energized, but not with thought. This presence within you, right here, right now, is your consciousness. You're conscious. You're aware. Consciousness is where your emotions are. They're not in your body. They're in your consciousness. Consciousness is where your thoughts are. They're not in your brain. They're in your consciousness. Consciousness is where your soul is. I'll say it again. Consciousness is where your soul is. It's where you are. Consciousness is the fountain of youth. Is it not true that your consciousness is always fresh, always new? When you're conscious, you're never sad. You're live. It's so easy to get lost in what isn't you. The stuff. The stuff. Nothing wrong with the stuff. But it just isn't you. Isn't the fun in the stepping up of consciousness? Isn't that the fun? More joyful, kinder, nicer, happier, stronger, more creative. You being you. So let's just say that, well, someone has left you, left the earth. What they left was certainly their body and their place here in the physical world. But they didn't leave their consciousness. Are you not conscious of them? Are you not? Loving them, enjoying them, being interactive with them? Holy smokes, the continuity of consciousness. The continuity of consciousness. Let's continue the breath. Don't you feel good? I mean, don't you just feel good? Now, without any movement away from that good feeling in you, would you just bring your attention back into this room? Back into this room. And now, no movement away from feeling good. Just bring your attention back into your body. Let your consciousness fill your body. Now, just before you open your eyes, please do not be a fish out of water. Don't get lost. And just when you're ready, again without any movement, just nicely breathe your eyes open and allow that joy within you just to burst forth. Namaste.